UFC 317 gives us a couple of title fights at the top of the card and a couple of interesting fights a little bit further ways down. This is your UFC 317 main card preview. Let's just dive right in. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up, as it'll be Peyton Talbot taking on Felipe Lima in the bantamweight division. Talbot, 26 years old, standing at 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. He will switch stances on you. He is 9-1 with 7 wins by knockout. Won by submission, his only loss coming by decision. It also came in his last fight, as he lost to Ronnie Barcelos at UFC 311 at the beginning part of the calendar year. His first career loss, MMA or professional or amateur. He's 3-1 in the UFC. He had finished all 3 coming off of the Dana White's Contender Series, where he picked up a unanimous decision win. Taking on the 27-year-old Lima at 5'6", training at All Stars Training Center, 14-1 in his career, with 4 wins by knockout, another 3 by submission. And 1 submission loss in his career. Picking up a unanimous decision win in his last fight at the tail end of 2024 over Miles Johns. It is back-to-back wins in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. We mentioned he's 14-1. He's on a 14-fight winning streak, lost his first professional fight, and has rocketed up from there. So you always love that type of a journey for a fighter here. For Talbot, when you look at the stats, you certainly see someone who is going to put the volume on. 6.73 strikes landed per minute compared to the 3.5 of Lima, and with an accuracy of 55%. So he is slinging them, and he is landing them effectively. And so I feel like, given that, I think that there is a bit of a higher threshold with Talbot compared to that of Lima. Now, Lima is also someone who is getting a lot of takedowns. At almost 2 takedowns is his average here, and the takedown defense for Talbot is at 75%. So this is going to be a fight about who can kind of dictate where this fight takes place. I think Talbot is going to be able to do that, and I just think that the pressure he can put on the offensive striking side is going to be a little bit too much for Lima, who is a sound defensive striker in his own right. And again, someone who has 4 knockout wins to his own. So it's not like, we're not talking about like a 1999 Gracie Jiu-Jitsu guy. Like, this is someone who knows what he is doing in the stand-up department, but I just think I just think the tools are a little bit sharper on the Talbot side than they are on the Lima side at this point. We go to the lightweight division, as it is Beneil Dariush taking on Renato Moicano. Dariush is 36 years old, standing at 5'10", with a 72-inch reach from the southpaw stance. A 22 6-1 record with 5 wins by knockout, another 9 by submission. He is coming off of a loss against Arman Tsarukyan back in December of 2023. He also suffered a loss against Charles Oliveira by knockout in 2023. So it has been a bit of a rough stretch for someone who, for a while, was knocking on championship's doorstep at 155 pounds. Taking on Renato Moicano, who got his title opportunity in his last bout. He is now 36 years old at 5'11" with a 72-inch reach, 26-1 for the record. 20 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw for the record. So, we're not talking about someone coming in at 25 wins over 500, but 4 wins by knockout, 10 by submission. As mentioned, his last fight was a submission loss against Islam Makhachev. He is 4-1 though in his last 5 and is a BJJ black belt. Many are the man who would lose to Islam Makhachev. I think if this fight happened a few years ago, Beneil Dariush would be a substantial favorite and would be my pick for this. But I just feel like, in the last couple of fights with Tsarukyan and with Oliveira, there has been I guess, exposing of some issues in Beneil Dariush. I think there has been a bit of a falling off of the talents of him as well. And I just don't think Moicano has suffered that same fate here. So I think that when again, you look at the stats, Moicano is landing about 1 full strike more than Dariush per round. And Dariush, as the years have gone on, he hasn't really handled that forward pressure all that well. Not that Moicano was going to come forward in a way that Charles de Bronx or Arman Tsarukyan would, but I just think that, like, Moicano, I just, I'm trying to find a sensitive way to say that. I don't think Moicano's fallen off as much as Dariush has. And it sucks because I've liked Dariush for a really, really long time, and it does seem like it has just reached a ceiling and is starting to come down. Where Moicano, it hasn't dropped as much for him yet. I think this is going to be a fascinating matchup if it gets to the ground. I think if it stays on the feet, it's going to be a little bit sloppy, and I think Moicano has the advantage there. So if this fight goes to the ground, you have Moicano, who is a BJJ black belt, who does have 10 submission wins in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but I think Dariush might be a slight level above there. So if I am correct in that, then Dariush wants to get this to the ground, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to get an opportunity to get it there while he is still in an advantageous position, if that makes sense. So again, I just think Moicano is a touch better in all the parts that he is going to be able to control and pick up a win in this bout. Very interesting fight coming up in the flyweight division as Brandon Royval goes into this one against Joshua Van. Royval, raw dog, at 32 years old, is 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. He is 17-7 for his career, with 4 wins by knockout, 9 by submission. His last fight was a split decision win over Tetsuya Tairo back on the Ultimate Fight Night card in October of 2024. It is back-to-back wins after a submission loss against Pantoja back at the end of 2023. He's 0-2 against Pantoja and has won 5 of his last 6 otherwise. Like, he is a very high-level fighter, except for fighting the best of the best. Joshua Van wants to prove that he is that. At just 23 years old, he is 5'5" with a 65-inch reach, 14-2 for the career, coming off of a knockout win over Bruno Gustavo da Silva at UFC 316. And I know what you're looking. You look at either the podcast or look at the video right now, but it's 317. You're right. This guy fought, at the time of this recording, 19 days ago. By the time he walks into the cage, it'll be 21 days between fights in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. That is insane. The joys of youth on Van's side. He is 7-1 in the UFC, which was his exact record outside of the Ultimate Proving Ground. I am endlessly fascinated by this fight. You have Royval, who has a very high level of skill and is probably the second best fighter in this division right now. But he has stumbled twice against the champions, so what does he do? Where can he go? Well, he's going to try to kill the upward momentum of one of the top prospects in the promotion with Joshua Van, who has, like, this is a enormous step up in competition for him. Like, there is, with all due respect to Gustavo da Silva, there is a substantial gap between that and Brandon Royval. And so to do this with a regular training camp would be ambitious, but to do this on 21 days notice is just absurd for Van to be trying this. But he is an explosive striker that comes with some accuracy, and the big number for him is 81% takedown defense, going up against Brandon Royval, who can spam the submissions at times, is a good striker. Like, it is just a well-rounded fighter, but that would be probably the area that Royval would have a bit more of the significant advantage in, would be on the ground. And Van has been very good about keeping it there. But again, every stat you look at it with Van, he has put that up against someone who isn't close to as good as the guy he is stepping into the cage with. And so I think Van is certainly, there is a path to victory for him, and one that you can very easily conceive in your mind. But I just think it's a bit too much, too soon for this kid. He will get to this level. And honestly, if this fight happened a year from now, I would probably give the edge to Van. It just feels like we're skipping a step in the process here for him. And regardless of a win, if he is able to pull off the victory in this fight, I think it would be up to the promotion to, I mean this in the best way possible, but to hold this kid back a little bit. Because he is going to go from this to wanting to challenge for the championship. And the problem is there's no one else, really. Like, Pantoja is running through this division right now. We are getting to lap 2 in this whole thing. And we are starved for challengers in this division. And if you have a 23-year-old who can knock off the guy who I think is the second best in the division, it is going to be really hard to not give that guy a title shot. And I understand that it will look like he is ready coming off of this, but I would preach patience with this just a little bit, because there could, we have seen when we go through these, how many times have we seen guy is on a meteoric rise and he skips a step and he gets thumped, and then it doesn't really go all that well. And all of a sudden, it takes a bit to get back to that level. I would just caution that, because this kid has everything you want for a world champion, except the experience. And I just don't know if it is there. Now, I don't think that conversation is going to matter all that much, because I do think Royval gets the win here. But goddamn, am I interested? This is probably the fight I'm the most interested in on the card coming up here on Saturday night. That brings us to our 2 championship bouts. It is Alexandre Pantoja taking on Kai Kara-France for the flyweight championship of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Pantoja coming in at 35 years old, at 5'5" with a 67-inch reach, out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, training at American Top Team. He is 29-5 for the career, coming off of a submission win in his last bout and a 3rd consecutive title defense. He has won 7 fights overall. He is 13-3 in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and is just cleaning out the division right now. Just a remarkable run for Pantoja. For Kai Kara-France, he is 32 years old, at 5'4" with a 69-inch reach, born in Auckland, New Zealand, training at City Kickboxing, the gym that has provided us with the talents of Israel Adesanya and Alex Volkanovski. He is 25-11, coming off of a win over Steve Erceg in his last bout, earning a title shot, even though that snapped a 2-fight losing streak. And that is the big part of this, is that Kai Kara-France is a talented fighter and is someone who deserves to be at the championship level. But I think that this is the problem with this division right now, is, okay, he has lost 2 in a row, but he just beat Steve Erceg. And so for his management standpoint, from his standpoint, from the promotion standpoint, hey, he just beat our last title challenger. Like, okay, Erceg probably wasn't ready to be a title challenger either. And so you throw someone in who is probably not ready for that moment, and then he loses, and then someone beats him and is trying to build credibility over off of him being in that moment, but he wasn't ready for that moment. Ergo, I don't know if Kai Kara-France is either. Like, coming off of the 2-fight losing streak, it's great win for him against Erceg. There is a little bit of there is nobody else for this. And so Pantoja has been a tough one to do in the pound for pound, because, like, I don't know if there is a bigger gap in the sport between 1 and 2 in their division than Pantoja and what is happening right now at flyweight. And that's not a knock on guys like Erceg and Moreno and KKF and all of those guys. It is just how damn good this guy really is that is at the top of this division right now. Like, I think Kai Kara-France beats a lot of guys in this division. Just not this one. Pantoja is just better. He is better, I think, everywhere. And I think there is a real case to be made that if he wins this fight, he is the best flyweight in the history of the UFC. It is already down to him and DJ. And DJ was so very dominant. And maybe you can talk about the quality of competition that DJ was facing compared to what Pantoja is, but Pantoja is a win away. If he gets this, and if he gets it in a particular way, he will set the record for wins, submissions, and finishes in flyweight division history in the UFC. If he is able to top Demetrius Johnson in all of these different aspects, it is going to be tough to say that he is not better than Demetrius Johnson. If they were to have a fight in their prime, I don't know. It is very close, and I have never said that about anyone else in this division compared to prime Demetrius Johnson. So that is the level that we are talking about, and Kai Kara-France just is not that. So I again, it is oversimplistic. I think Pantoja just wins by being better. I think that this does end up going Pantoja's way, and I would suggest probably by way of submission as well would be my pick on that one. And now we go to the main event. It is Ilia Topuria taking on Charles Oliveira for the vacant UFC lightweight championship. Topuria, the former featherweight champion, coming in at 28 years old. He is 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. He is of Georgian descent and trains at MMA Masters in Florida. 16-0 for the record, with 6 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission. His last win comes against Max Holloway back in 2024. 4, where he defends the featherweight championship by way of knockout. It is a long run of success for him that now has him moving up into the lightweight ranks to take on the former champion in Charles de Bronx Oliveira, who is now 35 years old, standing at 5'10", with a 74-inch reach, born in Sao Paulo, Brazil, training at Bronx's Gold Gym. He is 35-10 for his career, coming off of a unanimous decision win over Michael Chandler, rebounding from the split decision loss against Arman Tsarukyan. So it depends on how you want to look at it. If you are building up Oliveira, you would say he has won 13 of his last 15 fights. If you are pointing out that maybe this is not the most qualified guy to fight for a championship, he's 3-2 in his last 5. And we talked about it earlier, his wins have come against Chandler, Dariush, and Gaethje. While all good fighters in their time, all of them a bit of a step down. Or a step down from what they used to be. And Topuria is competing to be the best fighter in the sport at the moment. So this is a pretty tough hill, I think, to climb for Charles de Bronx. It is interesting that it is Topuria moving up in weight, although he has fought at this weight before, where he is 1-0 at lightweight. Picked up a performance of the night in a knockout win over Jai Herbert back at the Ultimate Fight Night card in March of 2022. So this is someone who knows what it takes to get up to this weight class. I don't think this is just going to be as simple as, oh, I just cut 10 pounds less and now I am good. I think the way he has gone about everything in his career, this is someone who is going to really attack this and find the optimum way to get to 155 pounds. So a lot of the edges that he had at 145 now translate with him to 155. I just don't think there is anything Oliveira can present that Topuria hasn't seen against Holloway and against Volkanovski and against some of the other fighters that he beat on his rise to the top of 145 pounds. Now, you could very convincingly say that I am taking away from Oliveira because of wins over Chandler, Dariush, and Gaethje, but I am celebrating victories for Topuria over Holloway and Volkanovski. And I don't necessarily have a counter for that. But I just feel like there isn't anything that this version of Oliveira can present to Topuria that he hasn't seen before. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think Oliveira is going to present anything to Topuria that Topuria isn't better at. So I think that this is the true crowning of one of the pound-for-pound kings of the UFC right now in Topuria. And while a lot of people already view him as a star, this is, I think, the big star-making night for Topuria against Charles de Bronx, and he can pick up a championship at 155 pounds. So I have Topuria picking up the victory here. So that is the breakdown of UFC 317. If you have any thoughts on any of my picks, I can't imagine I'm batting 1,000 on all of your cards. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or in the chat if you're watching live on YouTube or on Twitch. Let me know what you thought of these fights and my predictions of them.